What if under the glimmer of the American dream, a far more brutal truth lurks beneath the surface? The Brutalist delivers a powerful message, most of it hidden within the frames. But there's also a secret buried within this film that no one seems to be talking about. I'm going to show you the stark reality of what happened to Laszlo Toth and those around him. And be warned, it's more brutal than you might think for everyone.
Before I lose it, dreams slip away. Yes, I know.
Hey, I'm Loren, your insider to filmmaking techniques. The Brutalist begins in Hungary.
Hol van az édesanyja? Tudja egyáltalán?
Laszlo's niece Sofia sits for an interview, being scrutinized to prove she isn't Jewish. The walls close in around her. The dead trees behind her like bony fingers pointing down in silent accusation. The music ticks like a time bomb. And then a poetic dissolve. The window frame forms a cross over her head, symbolizing the pervasive religious repression of the Holocaust. She will never be the same after this. We all know what the Holocaust was. Oppression in its most extreme, inhumane form. But do we really understand what the immigrant experience was like for those who escaped to America? Were they stepping into the American dream? A life of liberty and freedom upon arrival? Look at this shot of Laszlo walking his way through the dark bowels of a ship, with cold spotlights overhead, symbolizing the horrors of his journey through the Third Reich, and into the broad daylight that is the promise of America. But there's something unsettling about the way it's framed. The Statue of Liberty, a beacon of hope for millions, is framed upside down. That single shot tells us everything. The American dream, for Laszlo, is not salvation. It's an illusion. Look at this shot of immigrants getting ready to enter at Ellis Island. Each immigrant doesn't have a name, they have a number, like items at an auction. And they're framed by metal grills and gates. They appear imprisoned. There's an eerily similar feeling when Laszlo gets on his bus to Philadelphia. His face is filled with hope, but look closer. The camera is all tight shots on the bus, showing him boxed in by industrial metal and thick glass. It looks to me like a trap. There are lots of tight shots like this that make the characters feel claustrophobic, oppressed. And it also saves the production money, because the filmmakers don't have to make big, expansive sets. This synagogue is a perfect example. It's meant to feel tight, marginalized, visually insignificant compared to Christianity in the film. So they only show one corner of the room, and then a tight shot of the doorway when the characters speak. They never had to spend the money to build an actual synagogue. Same thing with the soup kitchen scene. It was meant to feel meager, so all they showed was an alleyway with a sign that led up to it. They didn't need to build the soup kitchen either. And they used a narrow hallway with a window to symbolize the entire Nazi regime. The Brutalist was praised for its lean $10 million budget, and it's scenes like these that reveal how they pulled it off. Stretching minimalism into both a cost-saving measure and a storytelling device. Here, less isn't just more, less is the message itself. But Laszlo aspires for more, and he has the skills to do it. Back in Europe, he was a renowned Brutalist architect.
And very artistic.
But in America, even a man as skilled and experienced as Laszlo faced incredible adversity. I find it notable the way the camera attached to the front of the bus is moving forward, yet the opening titles are moving sideways. It makes me feel disconnection. And there are so many ways that continue to show that disconnection when Laszlo arrives at his new home and job at a local furniture store. First, the lighting is harsh, casting shadows across his face like a prison cell. The color palette is cold, and the lighting is high contrast, with bright lights and dark shadows. We even find out that the name of the store is a contradiction. There is no Miller, and there's no Sons.
I'm Miller.
No, you are Mona.
The folks here, they're like a family business.
No Miller, no sons.
Yeah.
He later introduces Laszlo as his cousin.
You're not what I expected from what I read about you.
I'm not what I expected.
Laszlo could get a better job at a firm.
I then would be working for someone.
He, like so many other immigrants, wants to make his own dream. And there are moments when he's making his own creations that give him hope. Like this shot, which is the poster for the film. It's sparks of hope. It looks like early morning, the dawn of a new era. And later on, when some wealthy and well-connected Americans offer to help him get his wife and niece to America,
I'd be glad to make an inquiry on your behalf.
he's framed by candle lights, more glimmers of hope. There are many long, slow camera shots, showing the elite guests of the wealthy Harrison Van Buren. In America, wealth is like an addiction. It almost feels like the camera is high just looking at the glamour on display. And that probably reflects the mentality of society's most elite. High on money, probably high on drugs too. And because of his talents being discovered, Laszlo gets to experience a side of American life that most immigrants at the time never see.
But I find our conversations intellectually stimulating.
And when Laszlo is tasked with building a dream architectural project for Mr. Van Buren, the groundbreaking ceremony is the only time in the entire film we see a lens flare on the screen, across the face of Laszlo and his wife. More rays of hope. But ultimately, every time he sees the promise of America, Laszlo's in for a rude awakening.
Wake up. That's a hell of a way to greet the day.
Your Negro man is waiting for you outside the gate. I suggest you pack your things and leave.
You make a pass at my wife?
This is not all right! This is my home!
But I can't help you anymore, either. You got that?
Cast out onto the street, being accused and punished for things he didn't do. Everywhere he turns, cruelty meets him. The soup kitchen?
You must have a slice of bread. It is just a little boy.
How many times do you people want me to say it? Kitchen's closed, folks.
A prostitute he pays for a moment of comfort?
Your face is ugly.
I know it is.
And that dream project? It blows up in smoke, literally, because of a train crash carrying materials and crew members.
What do you want me to do in the meantime?
With what?
Well, our crew.
Let him go.
You can't, sir. You cannot do
Yes,
that.
I can. Yes. Yes, I can!
When Laszlo first arrives in America, he tosses a coin into the air, full of optimism. It's a simple gesture, one of good luck, of belief in possibility. But years later, when his powerful employer, Mr. Van Buren, performs the same action, the moment is transformed.
5 years, you have no excuse anymore. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away there. Will you please pass that back?
It's no longer hope. It's humiliation. It's power dangling just out of reach. Laszlo, once full of dreams, sits in the stark realization that he's not free at all.
Because they do not want us here.
Of course Attila wants us here.
And then the ultimate violation, when Mr. Van Buren takes everything from him, not just his dignity. When they're both doped up on drugs, Harrison takes his body.
Get it out. Let it out.
Yes, I mean the R word. And this all leads to a shocking moment later in the film, one that completely reframes what we've seen so far. But we'll get to that later. First, let's talk about how the film sets it up.
Is there a better description of a cube than that of its construction?
Brutalist architecture is designed to withstand the chaos of war and destruction. Built on solid foundations, strong materials, no thrills, but full of stability and order.
My buildings were devised to endure such erosion.
The cube is a way for Laszlo to communicate with the world, regardless of artistic repression. It's his way of showing control, resilience, and grit in the face of societal oppression. It's his way of showing the world who he really is. Laszlo doesn't just design a structure, he tells his own story.
It really is very clever. The way the space surrounds one, the forced perspective.
The forced perspective. I know what the actor meant when he said it, but that line sums up the entire film in 3 words. Everyone in the film was trying to force their own perspectives on each other. We all know what forced perspective the Third Reich imposed, but in America there are also many forces imposed on people.
You rang for me, sir?
Oh, yes, Laszlo, come in. I've had a vision.
In a capitalist society, money is power.
And what do you think about a gymnasium? I used to practice wrestling when I was a teenager. I have these fond memories of my mother accompanying me to matches.
Perhaps a swimming pool?
I can't swim.
The Brutalist shows intimately how those who have money and wealth can force their perspectives on those that don't. And I'm not just talking about individuals like Mr. Van Buren. Look at the Catholic Church.
The Bucks County Mayor's office will warm to local and state funding opportunities if we are willing to designate a specific and meaningful component of the center for Christian congregation.
But it is a community center for all people.
Laszlo, a Jewish man who was forced to flee the Nazis' religious repression in Europe, is now in America forced to design his new masterpiece centered around the Catholic Church.
Mr. Van Buren, a generous patron and practicing Protestant, and I will build a place you will be drawn to congregate and inspired to worship.
And yet, he finds a way to stubbornly push back. In the heart of this grand structure, hidden within its brutalist form, is his story, his forced perspective.
His lifelong ambition was not only to define an epoch, but to transcend all time.
His niece later specifies in the movie that the space inside the building were the exact same dimensions as the camp he was originally imprisoned in. But that's just on the surface. When I look inside the building, I see darkness, towering, oppressive pillars, and cavernous rooms filled with water. To me, it feels like the tears of profound grief. And the connecting underground hallways create an endless maze of loss and suffering that the prisoners in the camps experienced in their minds. With only small glimpses of light far above, in the form of prison cells, just moments of hope surrounded by devastation. But here's the real twist at the end, and I haven't seen anyone write or talk about this anywhere as of this recording. And before I lay this out for you, if you're enjoying this, please like the video below, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and leave a comment about anything The Brutalist, because there's a lot to talk about in this film. Now, here's the twist that, for me, really ties everything together.
Come tonight to tell you something that is going to be very difficult to hear.
One of the final scenes is Laszlo's wife, Elizabeth, confronting Mr. Van Buren about the unspeakable crime he committed on her husband.
Your father is an evil...
And of course, Mr. Van Buren denied it.
He's a sick, senile old dog. And when dogs get sick, they often bite the hand of those who fed them until someone mercifully puts them down.
Instead, attacking Laszlo for being less than human. An attack that isn't uncommon to immigrants around the world. But look at what happens after.
Did something happen between you and Mrs. Tom?
It wasn't me.
It's enough.
Mr. Van Buren's son, Harry, loses his temper.
No! Harry, let her go!
And then he goes a step further and gets violent with her, to the point where his twin sister has to apologize.
Stop. I'm sorry.
Then Harry frantically goes looking for his father.
Father! It's over now!
He's talking to his father like he's a child. Why does he say that? It's over now, followed by suffering what looks like a full-on panic attack. To make sense of this, I started to go back and rewatch parts of the film, and that's when it hit me. It's because Harry has been hiding something.
What have you done?
Throughout the film, there's barely a mention of Mr. Van Buren's wife, and Harry, a very wealthy, handsome, one could almost say beautiful man, has no partner, no romantic life. He's socially stunted, often unable to hold adult personal conversations.
It's invigorating, isn't it?
He's awkward with both women and men.
I didn't say I'd like to slip my prick into her.
This is not friendly, Harry.
And he blames his social awkwardness on his drinking problem.
I had too much to drink. Need a nap.
Harry shows all the signs of a victim of abuse. The crime that his father, Harrison Van Buren, did to Laszlo. Could it be that he's also been doing the same crime to his own son?
Did something happen between you and Mrs. Tom?
It wasn't me.
It's enough.
You see how Harry got triggered when Elizabeth said she wasn't the victim? It's because that's the moment she implied the victim was someone else. In that moment, Harry isn't just defending his father. He's protecting their shared secret. Harrison Van Buren, the respected, charming elite, was never a great man. His reputation was a facade. His real legacy was the destruction of those closest to him. Harrison and Harry were never free. They were prisoners of their own intimate brutality.
He must have left the house. I can't find him anywhere. Daddy!
I have my doubts that Mr. Van Buren let himself survive that night.
Harrison!
Being a man with such wealth and power, he probably never had to learn how to face real personal adversity. But once again, Laszlo, his wife and niece, their spirits unbreakable, forged by hardship and defiance, endured and carried on. Thanks for watching.